Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Management, a VUCA perspective. We are discussing core concepts, and on this fun, exhilarating and a lot of learning filled ride, I am your host and tour guide Siddhi Bhattacharyya. Now, we've been discussing various facets of integrated marketing communications, and now is the time to come to what is happening today and the most relevant topics that we can see out there. In the words of Andrew Davis, one of the keynote speakers and best-selling authors of the world of marketing today, he says, content builds relationships, relationships are built on trust, and trust is what drives revenue. All of these things are important because it gets delivered through a very seamless experience nowadays, which is the online space. And that precisely is where we are headed to understand things today. It is inclusive and yet chosen meticulously. So, within the larger space of integrated marketing communications, digital IMC is also a very selective choice of a variety of offerings in the online space. The entire media mix is therefore in digital also available, and yet which particular media has to be chosen depends on the consumer usage and where they are to be found most frequently. And an IMC campaign is deliberate again in the choice of digital media selections and meets the specifications of what particular idea you are going to execute, because technology takes a lot of center stage here. Technology drives ideas today, and that is also predominantly one of the reasons the choice has to be absolutely weighed down by the media mix and the actual interactions which it affords with the consumers. So, here we enter the second part of the conversation on integrated marketing communications. We are looking at the digital marketing revolution, where we look at the online communication strategies at large. It is a hyper connected world out there today, and therefore modern marketers face both unprecedented challenges as well as a lot of opportunities. So, consumers spend more than half their total media time nowadays online, and the digital landscape has become the primary battlefield for brand communication and customer engagement, which is just putting it very mildly. As time goes forward and as digital engagement becomes that much more immersive, the time spent on devices and the data collected through other newer channels like wearables and channels like interactive touch points at various physical locations also will increase the amount of data which is coming in from consumers and provide necessary feedback and input, which will drive digital communications in an omni-channel form. So, here we cover the evolving world of online marketing communications and examine how brands can effectively navigate websites, search engines, social media platforms, mobile channels and more, and create meaningful connections with increasingly empowered consumers, because that is where they are. They are getting a lot of information right in their handsets, and that is precisely where the communication starts today. In the case of the digital consumer landscape, you will notice that more than half of US's consumers' total time on media is now spent online, and marks a fundamental shift in audience attention towards these media of choice. Here the consumer has a lot more control. They define their own rules of engagement. They choose very deliberately what information they need and which offerings suit or interest them the best. So, this is precisely the space in which the digital platform actually provides a new area of interaction for consumers. In terms of information, Digital as a space also provides a lot of gatekeeping. Consumers increasingly insulate themselves with digital agents and intermediaries and control the access of brands to their attention, and this has been actually enhanced by the GDPR and CCPA rules which are coming about and are getting enforced the world over. Here again a lot of value is determined because digital consumers independently determine which particular products and services are worth their time and to them, and they challenge the traditional pricing models very effectively and very openly. So, the first thing which is of note here is the most internalized asset of any organization today, the company website. It is in fact the digital storefront through which the most immediate and closest interactions with your consumer in a captive environment can be done. The purpose of a website is to embody a company's purpose, its history, its products, and what particular vision does it drive. Does it create a digital presence that attracts initial visits, or it does some amount of pushing and encouragement to get more engagement coming in from the end consumer as things go along. Now, Estee Lauder's transition from telephone, telegraph and tell a woman, it has now become a more comprehensive digital communication, because modern brands must establish compelling online headquarters, and from there everything is stage managed. So, the key performance factors here are first and foremost the ease of use, because there has to be intuitive navigation. The navigation must seem seamless to the consumer and they must be engrossed while they are going through the entire website experience. There has to be clarity of content and it needs to be relevant to the audience as well. Now, aesthetic appeal is also something which is an obvious draw for consumers coming in, and with coordinated design elements you can actually drive the conversation in that particular direction. In terms of security and the privacy protection aspects, consumers want their data to be safe, and that is one of the key asks from the digital space as well. Organizations must ensure that these are delivered, because without this there will be a lot of fallout with consumers. And finally, mobile. Mobile as a space is where consumers access their data, and when they access their data first on a handset, that is where the most responsiveness of a website is going to be actually tried by fire. So, therefore, that is part of the understanding which brands must have when they approach consumers through a website. Now, the impact on purchasing behavior because of having a website is very multifaceted. First and foremost, if you have physical attractiveness built into the aesthetics of your website, then the aesthetic appeal will include the layout, the fonts, the color coordination, and will be an instant draw for consumers arriving there. If it has ease of navigation, the intuitive site structure will enable efficient information discovery for consumers. And if the content is very clear, then the information presented in easily understandable formats will guide them to a particular point where they can actually facilitate the purchase, because clear pathways from interest to transaction completion are moving in that general direction. A research by JD Power demonstrates that consumers who report being delighted with an automotive manufacturer's website show significantly higher likelihood of going first for a test drive on that company's vehicles, and then directly linking the digital experience to the physical sales outcomes, because they have already been sort of conditioned to believe that the experience they are going to now get from driving a car has already at its inception been derived by the website. Going further, there are certain nests within nests, which means microsites. These are small pockets of devoted attention to a specific topic within the entire website format. Here they target digital touch points with a very fine focus. So, here the strategic placement positions these microsites within the relevant third party websites. you can have an experience of your organization built into another platform where people frequent, and therefore, it gives you an opening to create a little experience zone. It is almost like having a multi-brand outlet within a larger mall, but here it is in the digital space. It also needs to have contextual relevance. So, you can't have a car microsite inside of a mother and baby kind of website in the larger context. So, therefore, you have to offer information which is directly related to the host site's purpose. So, it would need to marry in, because the audience coming there has a certain mindset with which they are approaching the host site, and it cannot be jarring to the host site's presence. There has to be a certain amount of value exchange as well. You have to provide useful content while introducing your brand offerings when you are dealing with any sort of online presence. So, microsites typically function as specialized digital supplements to primary websites. They enable companies to reach consumers in contextually relevant moments, and for example, an insurance company might create a microsite within the used car website space and offer both valuable advice for potential buyers and appropriately timed insurance offers, converting them to sales with a higher probability. It creates a natural bridge between consumer needs and company solutions. Now, how do you get people to websites? So, hence you have to drive the online traffic there, and this is possible through search engine optimization and search engine marketing. SEO and SEM, terms which are nowadays very prevalent and very commonplace in the marketing space. What does this do? First and foremost, at the base level, search engine optimization creates organic optimization of the website content and structure. This is important because alongside the consumer, there is another target audience for websites. This is the search engine algorithm. The search engine algorithm bases the search phrase which has been input by a consumer with disposition will actually check relevant content from websites. So, mapping what they need with what is present on a website is extremely important, and therefore, SEO optimization is something which extremely well defines the way a particular website will get found. Now, the next part to this is search engine marketing, where paid placement in search results is based on keyboard bidding and names and websites kept popped up on people's search feeds. These are with that sponsored tag, and consumers at times have a likelihood to press on these, although they do go in for the more organic variety, which is the SEO. Then once they are there and are able to view everything, that is when you get enhanced brand visibility, because linking the search with the results that are gained gives you higher rankings and drives awareness about you and traffic to your site as well. Driving traffic to owned digital properties requires strategic approaches to search visibility. SEO represents a cost effective but technically complex long term investment in organic visibility, and SEM offers immediate but potentially expensive paid visibility through the keyword bidding process. Now, most successful digital marketing strategies employ both these approaches in tandem and in complementary ways, therefore, optimizing for different phases of the customer journey and ensuring that it is linked to the application on the website itself. Now, when you are looking at SEO, the fundamentals that you need to look in are keyword research. First, identify terms your target audience uses to find relevant content, and then you optimize your page so that you incorporate keywords naturally into page titles, headers and content. Then you backlink into a various set of quality links and reputable websites from which you get referred to, and this is critically important for people to have a discovery method to land on your website. The technical optimization therefore ensures mobile responsiveness, fast loading times and clean code. The clean code aspect is extremely important because browsers and the search engines which work with them have that particular requirement, so that malicious websites are not run into. And search engine optimization involves activities designed to improve a brand's organic or non-paid rankings for relevant search terms, and cost effective approach requires technical expertise. It gets content developed in a specific way, and there needs to be ongoing maintenance to achieve sustainable results. Typically, it delivers higher long term ROI than the paid search alternatives. Next, we come to search engine marketing in detail. Here, keyword selection is extremely important. Broad terms for brand building, for example, iPhone or burger, and specific terms for sales conversion, for example, Apple iPhone and XS Max, will give you a certain specific identification factor. You get long tail phrases for targeted reach. Now, how do you manage this entire workflow? You have a bid management system where you allocate higher bids to highest converting keywords. You adjust these based on the competition you are facing and the search volume that you really want to divert to your page, and implement day parting for optimal timing when you expect the maximum flow of traffic coming onto your website. In terms of monitoring performance, you track the click-through rates consistently. You measure the conversion from click to action and calculate your cost per acquisition, or CPA, another term which is very prevalent and utilized within the digital marketing and advertising space. SEM involves paying search engines to feature a brand's listings for particular keyword searches, and unlike SEO, this approach typically uses a pay-per-click model where advertisers pay only when a user clicks their ads. As competition has increased, keyword prices have also risen dramatically, making the strategic keyword selection and bid management increasingly critical for campaign success. Now, let us look at McDonald's SEM example. Here, you see that the user search has gone for keywords like burger, French fries or fast food. Now, the ad which comes on display shows McDonald's appearing prominently in the search results based on the keyword bidding. How does this lead to user engagement? The consumer clicks on an ad showing interest in the McDonald's offering, and the billing event therefore happens when McDonald's pays Google only when the users click, with costs varying by keyword competition. The higher the competition, the higher the cost. For major brands like McDonald's, search engine marketing provides an efficient way to capture consumers actively expressing interest in relevant products. By bidding on terms like burger and fast food, McDonald's can position its offerings at the exact moment where the potential customers are considering food options, creating a direct path from the search intent or disposition and making them land on the purchase consideration, which is the website, microsite or any other app or digital asset. Now, this journey is also enhanced when you move towards social media, which gives you a public voice and presence. In the case of social media, globally you have got 4.7 billion online users and counting. These are active at any given point in time. Daily, on an average, people spend more than 2 hours on the social media platforms, and the role for that particular platform is 54% as a research, because they are researching products on social media, and 43% times it has an influence on their purchase as well, based on the social media content that they actually see. So, social media has transformed the simple communication platforms to essential marketing channels, and this enables brands to establish public voices, reinforcing other communication activities very cost efficiently, and encourages innovation through immediate consumer feedback. Many brands have these platforms provide unprecedented opportunities to build and engage with online communities at a massive scale as well. So, the social media engagement spectrum, if inspected, you will see that people come here consuming information, which is the highest amount. Then they seek promotions so that they can gain some extra discount or some freebies or some add-ons. Then they enjoy content quite a bit. So, hence this is a repository of content which is to their liking. They also come to social media to provide certain feedback and also at times have two-way conversations with a third party or a friend or a brand. Now, the brands and products can vary widely in their social nature online. So, therefore, consumers are likely to engage with media, charities and fashion brands and showing less interest in engaging with everyday consumer goods, because here the entire interaction is very low key and consumers use social media to obtain information, deals, entertaining content, and a smaller percentage engage in the two-way conversations with brands, especially where there is higher engagement. Now, there is the challenge of real time response, because the more you are able to match this, the better you will be actually connecting with your intended audiences. Consumer expectations wise, the brand needs to be always on, and the connectivity has conditioned consumers to expect nearly instantaneous company responses to events, issues and opportunities that emerge on social platforms. This real time expectation creates unprecedented pressure for brands to maintain continuous monitoring and rapid response capabilities across all active social channels. So, 24/7 you have to be monitoring your systems, you have to have predefined response protocols for common scenarios, you have to have a certain amount of decision making at operational levels as well, and cross functional response teams ready to mobilize if there is some exigency. So, there needs to be sophisticated sentiment analysis, so that you are able to actually gauge what is the mood of the customer there and why are they here. So, that if there is some escalation, there are pathways for the critical issues to be addressed. So, the accelerated timeline of social media communication forces companies to develop entirely new capabilities for real time monitoring, decision making and response deployment, and any brand that makes this process very simple, capable and efficient, their environment integrates technology solutions. With the help of AI, this has become even more prevalent in today's day and age, and you empower certain human teams behind them to act quickly and they have the necessary authorization. So, Frito-Lay's Do Us a Favor case study features here. They launched a campaign where Frito-Lay said do us a favor, and it was a contest inviting fans to suggest new potato chip flavors for a chance to win substantial cash prizes. The technical challenge here was Facebook's submission app crashed on the first day due to the overwhelming consumer participation, creating a potential PR crisis. So, in order to manage this, they recovered and adapted by quickly addressing technical issues and restoring the submission system. This demonstrated agility in crisis management and their preparedness for such an eventuality. Globally, this helped them succeed. The US winner, cheesy garlic bread flavored chips, joined international winners like Caesar salad from Australia and shrimp from Egypt in a successful global initiative, and that is how consumers found their suggestions now on packets in various other parts of the globe. Now, the Frito-Lay example illustrates both the tremendous engagement potential of social media campaigns and technical challenges which companies face. So, you have to manage these unexpected levels of participation in times when you throw open things like a contest. The successful recovery demonstrates how brands can turn potential setbacks into marketing wins through responsive management. Now, what is the value of social media presence? First and foremost, it allows you to exert your brand voice. It establishes a consistent and authentic presence in online conversations, personalizes the brand and also helps you manage your reputation as you go along. You offer credible counterpoints to negative or inaccurate feedback and are able to have a say in the conversation. If you are absent, people will say whatever they want behind your back. It also gets you the capability of community defense, because loyal customers advocate and defend the brand when faced with unnecessary criticism. Also, it helps you probe the consumer's mind and get market intelligence. Here you gather invaluable consumer insights and you listen digitally to get these inputs coming in from other consumers. So, whether you engage in social media or not, internet platforms will always permit consumer scrutiny and criticism in the name of free speech. So, establishing a thoughtful social media presence is critical, because you can actually then shape the narrative, have alternate viewpoints, build strong communities and brand advocates. They will defend you against unfair characterizations and create a distributed reputation management system in the larger ordeal. Now, there are 4 main social media platforms. There are 4 main platform types to be specific, each serving distinct communication needs. There are online communities and forums for special interest groups. There are blogs for opinion sharing and thought leadership, social networks for personal connections and content distribution, and customer review sites which give you product evaluation and feedback. Effective social strategies typically leverage multiple platform types based on the customer preferences and communication objectives that a brand may have. Now, when you look at online communities and forums, you are looking at a space which is more or less consumer created, and many communities here arise organically because people throng together and they start talking about the brands and products that they want to talk about. These are customer interests without any commercial affiliations, and they create authentic conversation spaces about that particular product. Company sponsored spaces also are there, where brands supported communities enable direct communication between companies and customers around specific interests related to products and services, and it becomes an information exchange. These platforms facilitate valuable two-way information flow, providing companies with otherwise difficult to obtain customer insights, which are now readily available if you have the necessary system in place. It also allows for community bonding. Here, successful communities create individual and group activities and foster connections amongst members, driving sustained engagement. Now, online communities represent powerful ecosystems where consumers and companies can engage in productive exchanges, and consumers created or company created platforms facilitate knowledge sharing, problem solving and relationship building around shared interests. So, how does Apple then go about creating and fostering a community? Their product is entirely about design first and consumer experience in the same vein. So, their product focused structure allows them to host numerous discussion groups, and they foster these by specific product lines and user types, whether they are consumers at a direct consumer level or in terms of professional buyers. Post warranty, a lot of support is provided by this very community, because they serve as customers' primary source of product information and troubleshooting once the official warranties expire. There is a lot of peer-to-peer help which is actually forwarded in these communities, and Apple leverages knowledgeable users to help other customers solve the technical problems they have, and this reduces their own customer support costs very, very significantly, and it also gives a lot of insight generating capabilities. Here, discussion forums exist which provide Apple with valuable insights into common issues and feature requests for future product improvements, which they can then take to their design team as well. Now, Apple's approach to online communities exemplifies how companies can create a two-way value system for both the customer and the organization, and with getting the community going, the peer support also comes into their aid, and extends the service ecosystem with like-minded people who believe in the brand and support each other through that entire journey. They simultaneously also gather invaluable product feedback and forms the next cycle of development, and also gives the organization the chance to figure out what priorities they should bring in into their next product development cycle. Now, let us look at GlaxoSmithKline and Lego. How do they actually innovate their community? So, GlaxoSmithKline had a weight loss community, and when preparing to launch its first weight loss drug Ally, GlaxoSmithKline sponsored a weight loss community to gather consumer feedback. The pharma company found this approach delivered more valuable insights than traditional focus groups, because people provided deeper understanding of potential needs, concerns, and there was a certain language which the consumer used. So, this language could then be reverse engineered into the communication being sent outwards, because consumers understood that language being spoken back at them. So, this was critically important. Lego on the other side had a crowdsourcing platform. They implemented a global platform of crowdsourcing and got fans to create and vote on product designs. This innovative approach transformed customers into collaborators, and this resulted in numerous successful products, including the popular Minecraft based sets. The platform simultaneously built community engagement while reducing the product development risk, because there was already an input from the community, from consumers. So, they were already clamoring for a certain kind of product, and they could actually gauge how many people were interested in that kind of product. And once they answered positively with a product developed to consumer specifications, consumer felt that their prayers had been answered, and that got a lot of positive sentiment from them. So, these demonstrate how online communities can transcend traditional feedback channels with customers and create deeper, meaningful engagement and more actionable insights in the entire process. Customers can be invited into the development part, and brands can get into collective creativity. So, it also reduces the strain and the chances of product failure and builds stronger emotional connections with the audience. Next, on to blogs, which are influential opinion platforms. Here there is content being created, and bloggers regularly update their online journals covering specialized topics from personal perspectives. Now, when people read these and they respond, there is a community formation which happens over time, and blogs connect people with common interests through comment sections and shared discussions ongoing on that particular level. And purchase influence can also be derived out of this, because consumers increasingly research products through these blogs before making any kind of buying decisions. Regulatory wise, there is an oversight, because the FTC requires bloggers to disclose relationships with brands whose products that they have endorsed, so that there is a clear understanding that whether this is an endorsed piece or this is a completely personal opinion piece. And blogs have evolved from simple personal diaries into powerful platforms for opinion formation and product discovery. Companies increasingly monitor relevant blogs for customer sentiment and also create their own blog content to establish their own thought leadership patterns. And the growing influence of blogs has prompted regulatory attention, because it has to be clean and understood who is writing for whom or who is writing on their own volition. So, disclosure requirements are required for any amount of sponsored content as well. This keeps consumer interests safe as well. Now, when you look at social networks, there are major marketing channels in their own right. Facebook is the biggest amongst all these. It has got a massive user base spanning multiple demographics and remains a versatile platform both for B2C and B2B marketing, and offers sophisticated targeting options and diverse ad formats through which the brand can reach out to people. LinkedIn has a premier professional tag to it. It excels for B2B marketing, executive thought leadership and recruitment, and it has got content typically focused on industry insights and career development. Instagram has a visual first platform which dominates the lifestyle, fashion and aspirational marketing categories, and with particular strength in reaching younger demographics through both organic and paid content. Social networks have become indispensable marketing channels, and though companies continue learning to effectively tap into these platforms and their well-defined audiences, they must do a lot of work to keep abreast of changes and trends. So, the non-commercial nature of the user intent, primarily people visiting to contact with others, not to shop, creates unique challenges for marketers who are seeking attention and persuasion opportunities with these particular brands. Then there is viral content, and it poses its own challenge at the overarching level. There is limited virality because only a small fraction of the content that comes out truly cascades beyond initial recipients. Now, what happens typically here is there are motivation factors. When you are sharing, you are driven more by the social image considerations than the intrinsic enjoyment of sharing something, and brands tend to balance this. The effective content subtly integrates brands without disrupting the core experience of whatever people came there for, whether it is the information or the enjoyment or something else. And there is a certain emotional journey as part of viral content, because successful viral content creates emotional fluctuations and maintains the engagement as it completes its journey. So, widespread interest in creating viral content is definitely there, but the reality is that most online content never achieves any amount of significant sharing. So, therefore, Harvard Business School expert Tales Teixeira suggests successful shareable content typically employs techniques like brand pulsing. There is subtle brand integration within the conversation, and there are emotional hooks in opening moments. There are engaging emotional arcs in the entire narrative or storytelling, and surprising but not shocking that content has viewers feel comfortable in the sharing of it, because they have to create something which is new, and when they do get into that act, it is almost like they are pushing the content out and it showcases their intellect in front of their peers. So, that is the aspect which needs to be looked at. Now, when it comes to entertainment, brand entertainment initiatives are also there. For example, if you look at Quicksilver, this surf brand produced professional quality surfing videos and made self culture books targeting teen audiences, and it positioned itself as a lifestyle authority rather than just an apparel company. Similarly, Johnson & Johnson, the healthcare giant, maintains popular websites offering comprehensive parenting advice. It establishes trusted relationships with consumers and extends the entire conversation far beyond just product transactions. Refreshment brand Mountain Dew has a beverage which operates as its own record label and directly connects with youth culture through music promotion and artist development that aligns with the energetic brand personality. Hasbro, the toy manufacturer, partnered with Discovery, creates a dedicated television channel, transforming from product maker to media producer, and expands its influence in children's entertainment. So, there are lots of successful brands doing successful pivots in the way they interact with the consumers and move beyond traditional advertising and create entertainment initiatives which complement what products or services they are offering, and they engage consumers through these valuable content experiences. These efforts follow the entertainment industry principles rather than conventional marketing formulas, and prioritize the audience's enjoyment rather than selling them directly with messages of here, come and buy. So, that is the differential which has affected their growth. Now, when you look at influencers, influencers create a pipeline of followers onto certain specific endpoints. Why are influencers important? Because they give authentic messaging and people follow them for that. So, product integration with trusted personal narratives end up getting the message to a lot of consumers. Audience types and segments are aligned with the kind of consumers that are out there. So, accessing pre-built communities of potential customers is important, and who are already there can now be targeted by brands through the influencers conversation. And when it comes to strategic partnerships, you build in long-term brand influencer relationships in that particular conversation. So, influencer marketing represents the strategic use of popular online figures who promote products within their social media channels. The hybrid approach combines elements of publicity and paid endorsement. Here they place distribution control with the influencer rather than the brand. So, a control amount is relinquished and the influencer therefore takes over and speaks with the audience like they would, but also build the particular conversation about the brand into the narrative. Here, unlike traditional advertising where companies pay for media placement, influencer marketing leverages the creator's established audience and perceived authenticity within that particular audience. This is a rapidly growing practice and has evolved into a multi-billion-dollar industry, and brands recognize the value of accessing pre-built communities through trusted voices. The approach requires careful influencer selection to ensure genuine audience alignment and authentic content integration. Now, what are the challenges in influencer marketing? Now, there are 200 million plus fake followers, which are fake numbers used to just beef up the figures, and these are created through automated accounts or bots. These are fake numbers which organizations need to understand can actually throw their numbers completely off, and over $100,000 are premium fees which are derived by the top influencers for their endorsements. 3.5 million bot accounts also used to engage and increase the inflated social engagement aspect, and 25 to 30% is actually reported engagement fraud, where fake interactions are there industry wide. So, the explosive growth of influencer marketing has created these significant challenges, and it is rapidly escalating fees and widespread fraud. Some influencers command that high fee, and the industry struggles with fraudulent practice like purchased followers and engagement. A single company at a point in time had over 3.5 million automated accounts to provide more than 200 million fake Twitter followers to influencers, who then leverage these inflated metrics to negotiate higher endorsement fees and tricking companies into paying them top dollar. Now, how do you authenticate the influencer impact? You have a follower quality analysis. You use specialized tools to examine the follower accounts for signs of automation, including creation dates, posting patterns and profile completeness. Then you look at engagement patterns and you evaluate these to find algorithms which identify suspicious patterns in likes, comments and shares and suggest automated or purchased engagement. Then if you've got content resonance assessment, analysis determines whether the engagement metrics align with the content quality and audience interest in authentic ways. So, these are as sophisticated as they come. And finally, conversion tracking, because this is the ultimate measure of quality. Custom tracking tools measure actual business outcomes generated through influencer partnerships rather than just surface level metrics. Influencer marketing has matured, and a specialized industry of social media detectives have also emerged. So, these help advertisers authenticate the influencer's impact. The companies employ sophisticated tools to evaluate influencers' social media activity, and they look for signs of bot involvement and calculate the percentage of real followers, views and engagement. This verification process has become essential for brands seeking genuine influence rather than artificially inflated metrics. Now, in terms of customer reviews, you need to look at trusted brand information, because that is what will drive the final conversions of customers coming your way. Friends and family feature the highest in this entire thing, and then followed very closely by online customer reviews. Brand websites also feature almost at a third less than the friends and family aspect. Editorial content is fairly close by, causing about half of the impact of friends and family, and TV advertisements and social media ads typically fall far lower than all of these. So, the peer influence is the highest factor in getting people to buy into something. So, that is always, and word of mouth therefore is going to always be the biggest factor, considering what people believe actually. And Nielsen research has actually put out that online customer reviews rank as the second most trusted source of brand information right after this. So, this is surpassed only by the peer reviews from friends and family. The high trust factor makes review platforms particularly influential, and this helps shape consumer preferences and purchase decisions, because this is spoken by honest and actual reviews by real people. So, this is important. This is especially required for considered purchase, where buyers conduct extensive pre-purchase research, and that therefore needs all these inputs coming their way. What is the psychology therefore of an online review? The online review puts in social influence factors, where research shows that social influence can lead to disproportionately positive online ratings. Subsequently, reviews are more likely to be influenced by previous positive ratings than by negative ones, and therefore, the rationality or the bias which has crept in cannot be kept out, and it actually creates potential rating inflation over time. So, this is one challenge here, and this conformity bias therefore pushes reviewers unconsciously to adopt these norms established by earlier participants, particularly in ambiguous evaluation situations where correct assessments aren't that obvious. The negativity bias in impact is also enforced, because if there is a prevalence of positive reviews, negative feedback often carries disproportional weight in consumer decision making, and consumers typically view negative reviews first. So, they see who has spat most venom out for something, and they find these as more informative, diagnostic and trustworthy than positive ones. So, this negativity bias creates a challenge for brands, because a small number of negative reviews can potentially outweigh a larger body of positive feedback in shaping purchase decisions. When you understand the psychological dynamics of online reviews, you help marketers develop more effective strategies, managing their online reputation better and leveraging customer feedback as a true marketing asset. Now, here there is the power of online influentials. So, there is a disproportionate impact when a small number of opinion leaders, they start pushing their weight around online, and they impact the conversation over specific consumer segments. The authority position therefore is seen as credible and has knowledgeable sources within their domains of expertise. They address niche communities, and often they provide specialized audiences with specific interests or needs their advice, and that is how they find favor with them, and they have a strategic value because they are valuable as partners within that targeting marketing initiative. So, mainstream influencers who marketers increasingly recognize the value of online influencers may reach smaller audiences, but exert significant impact within their specific communities. These opinion leaders serve as the primary or even sole influence on certain consumer decisions. These may then make them particularly valuable for targeted marketing efforts despite their potentially modest follower counts, because they are rationalized and they have a deeper impact. So, the chances of affecting that particular audience becomes that much more solid. The mobile marketing opportunity is also something which needs to be understood in detail. Location based marketing, because the mobile travels with you and has a GPS connection, therefore, enables contextually relevant offers basis where you are. Your proximity defines the place to physical locations, dramatically increasing the relevance and conversion potential. This is what is the basis for omni-channel basically. And then you simplify the purchasing process, because mobile commerce systems reduce the friction in the buying process. All you do is fish your phone out, scan the code and pay, and you are done. So, enabling one click purchasing and instant gratification to consumers and allowing them to move on to other things. Interactive packaging also helps transform mobile devices into the AR space, where they are augmenting the reality with extended information and knowledge about a product or service and the experience therefore. So, all of these things work in favor of the mobile marketing opportunity. There are 4 very clear distinctive features of mobile. So, there is one, the personal identity, because they are uniquely tied to the individual users and therefore, they are enabling highly personalized communication experiences to come to them. Constantly available, because they are virtually always on unless they have run out of juice, and they are literally carried everywhere including the restroom, and they create unprecedented access to consumers throughout their daily lives, immediately giving chances of consumption to happen to people. Mobile functions are both communication channel and distribution channel intensive and create integrated payment systems within for instant commerce, and those instant purchases are money in the bank for the organization. High interactivity is also there, because the GPS capabilities and built-in cameras give you rich interactive experiences between brands and customers. So, beyond just static mobile advertising, there is a lot of area to be explored. First and foremost, convenience, because utilities that simplify daily tasks can actually create a pathway to brands as well. If you have got social value, you have features that connect people with other people of similar interest, you incentivize them for engagement and loyalty, and you give them some entertainment so that they can enjoy the branded experience, and there is certain discovery and curiosity being addressed there. So, smartphones are becoming smarter and more capable. Mobile marketing has evolved far beyond this basic display of mini billboards. So, today you will have more effective mobile strategies focusing on genuine value through apps and experiences, and improving consumers' lives through convenience, social connection, meaningful rewards and entertainment. When you focus on these value dimensions rather than interruption and disruption based advertising, brands can create more welcome and engaging mobile presences that drive both immediate engagement and long term loyalty, because at the end of the day, this is one big factor in people's propensity to buy, which is disposition. If I am in the mood to be engaging and entertained, then if you throw something at me which will get me hooked, I am likelier to spend on you as a brand. And when I am not, when I am busy with work and suddenly you put in an intrusive message in front of me, I will get irritated. So, that is the psychological difference between both scenarios. Mobile loyalty programs also exist, where you enroll the customer with a simple opt-in process with immediate benefits, you track their purchase history, you accumulate rewards, and you give personalized offers as a last mile response. Now, you track the overall extent of the engagement. The deeper the engagement, the higher the reward. Smart mobile devices have revolutionized these loyalty programs, and there is now no need of physical cards much like earlier times. And so, therefore, there is real time tracking of customer visits, because actually you can check if they walked into a store physically. Here, digital programs often give you enhanced convenience for consumers while providing merchants with valuable customer data and direct communication channels to the consumers. The most effective mobile loyalty initiatives become frictionless experiences, and personalized rewards can be given, and genuinely you can reflect consumer preferences, behaviors, because they are in the physical environment using a digital methodology, truly making the experience phygital. As time goes by, the phones will give way to more wearable kind of devices. You will soon have goggles where everything is in a heads up display kind of format, similar to how fighter jet pilots have them on their displays in their helmets. Here glasses will be used, and within that you will get all information. It will also give you enriched experiences as you look at various codes and tags through the lens, because it will be also able to identify these codes and tags and give you that certain enhanced data, so that you can experience the product even better. It will also have audio which you can get through physical contact with skin, and it will help you experience a completely immersive audio visual experience. So, this is what is coming up in the future, and you will have continuous connection. So, location based mobile marketing will also follow you. Now, you have got a handset, now you will have an eyepiece. You will have proximity targeting. Mobile technology has enabled marketers to identify when receptive customers are physically near their business locations, which is what we also discussed, the omni-channel way. And then contextual notifications depending on purchase history and GPS and cell tower proximity, and you can give them automated and personalized promotional messages, because you know whose phone is there. And then time sensitive offers, driving urgency and location proximity, which both are important for conversions and sales proficiency, and you keep the data private, you keep it secure. So, hence effective location based marketing requires robust user consent mechanisms and clear privacy safeguards. When all of this works in tandem, you have a very seamless engagement and very clear marketing. And so, you also can use this over traditional coupons which had challenges, rejected the convenience of clipping, organizing and physical coupons during shopping trips. Now, everything gets stored, and contextually people can go and based on location and time, personalized and convenient to use at a digital storage and retrieval available at your point of purchase. So, redemption and enhanced trackability for this is excellent and is something which is becoming more to get into. So, across screens, future of digital marketing, where these marketers are able to recognize users across different screens, multi-screen experience growing only from here, and gives you more relevant targeted and this cross device identity resolution communication as consumers move between smart. Now, you have got smart TVs, you have got devices work through their entire lives, and this will all be things as well. The mobile unique challenges for traditional small screen size, fleeting attention and attention spans, all of these things are the challenge engaged when using smartphones, but m-commerce companies ads entirely to streamline the purchase process and enabling transactions with as few clicks as possible. So, they are keeping and the salesy push at a minimal. So, with next series in integrated, I will see you next time.
Hello, snippet. We usually as the most revered figure in the history of, but we often tend to forget that he has hated figures in literature. Only about those boys and girls who have to memorize from Macbeth or King Lear or Julius Caesar before they can go and sit for their school and or college exams, but I am also talking about themselves quite famous authors. For instance, consider the writings of Shakespeare. Crude, immoral, and senseless. Shaw absolutely loathed Shakespeare, as he did Homer. But perhaps no about Shakespeare is more damaging is that Shakespeare is a marvelous storyteller. Someone has told him the story. Now, this piece of criticism is particularly damaging because true. None of contain any original. They are all written using pre-existing stories. Now, the nature of Shakespeare as a dramatic, I'll leave that for you to decide. See you in the next episode of Literary Snippets.